On today's Strictly Vikings, we talk Vikings versus Bears as the Vikings absolutely dismantled Chicago on Monday Night Football. Not even a contest, not even a game. Bears don't even belong in the NFC. We're going to take our side-eye look around the league. We're going to talk some more Kirk Cousins. We're going to talk the NFC North. Things are getting interesting down the stretch here, folks. We'll take our Facebook scroll of the week. We're going to preview the game against the Seahawks. Which quarterback will the Vikings be facing? I'm not sure. Nobody's sure. We're going to find out. And of course, we'll wrap it up with our ChatGPT Vikings player of the day. Let's get into it. Today is Wednesday, December 18th, and are Minnesota Vikings fans tired of winning? I mean, we've gotten to a point to where we're accustomed to it. It used to be a rare occasion for the Vikings to beat the Bears on Monday Night Football in just dominant fashion. And now it's like, this is what we expect. This is what we've come to. The expectations are high. They're through the roof right now for a team that didn't have any expectations going into this season. It's kind of crazy when you put things into perspective like that. And when I say the Vikings dismantled the Bears, I mean, we had Caleb Williams on the sideline after the game just laying down on the bench. Absolutely. He doesn't even know what to think of himself. The Bears are a crap franchise, and luckily, that's not our problem. That's not Minnesota's problem whatsoever. Luckily, we just reap the benefits from it, of Chicago being a terrible franchise who could never develop a quarterback, who have actually never developed a quarterback in the 100 years the Chicago Bears have been an NFL franchise, and yet they got the number one overall pick, one of the best quarterback prospects in recent memory since Andrew Luck, people say, and yet they're going to fail him again. And I don't want this to be about the Bears, but man, it's hard not to watch that game and just think how bad this Bears organization is. Just pathetically bad. Ryan Poles, just bad. Eberflus, just bad. And I think Vikings fans have to be thankful that they hired the right guys in Kwesi and Kevin, because Poles and Eberflus were brought in at the same exact time, same exact year. Look where the Bears are at, look where the Vikings are at. Totally different scene. Totally different scene. Let's recap this game. We'll start with the offense. Sam Darnold didn't have the best of nights. Accuracy seemed off a little bit all night. He did a great job taking care of the ball. He had that one interception, but it was a fourth down, and he just kind of tossed it. And then he should have had another touchdown, the one that Jefferson dropped. Good throw. That's probably never going to happen again in the history of Jefferson's career, but it happened. Kind of took away from Sam Darnold's performance, but I don't really think he played that well anyway. And if you're going to win games 30-13 or whatever it was, and Sam Darnold isn't going to play his best game, but you're going to win by that much, I'll take that any day of the week. Doesn't matter to me. I thought they should have ran the ball a lot more in the beginning of the game. KOC got a little pass happy just because I think he was so excited about how open Jefferson and Addison were getting at literally every single play. But it felt like when they were running the ball with Aaron Jones early in the game, it was like 7-8 a pop every single time. And then later in the game, they kind of figured that out and were just like, let's just put this thing away. They gave it to Jones, 4 or 5 straight times. Akers got in the mix there, and it was just all said and done from there. But Bears weren't going to let us air it out. They didn't. We got going on the ground. Pretty sure we had well over 100 yards rushing. Let's see. Let me double check that. We had, 114 from our 3 running backs. Good sign. This offensive line, looked good and looked bad. Looked great in the run game, allowing a lot of pressures in the pass game. But that is going to happen when your right tackle is going in and out the entire game. And it's difficult to get a rhythm for that offensive line when your right tackle is just going in and out, in and out, in and out. But hopefully Brian O'Neill is good. He finished the game, I believe. He got x-rays. Everything came back negative. He said he just kind of got rolled up on that knee, and then he just kept getting rolled up on that knee. So that's kind of why he went out several times. Um, Aaron Jones, that bank vault that he says, I totally forgot about that celebration. It feels like it hasn't been done in years, and he just completely failed on it too. There's not really a good. I feel like that one end zone. There's nowhere to really jump into the crowd. In the north, or no, in the, I believe it's the west end zone. There's a spot for players to jump up, but not really on the east side end zone. But that was pretty funny. He just decided to hang there and kind of do some Spider-Man stuff. He kind of made up for it, but I know he didn't envision that when he scored the touchdown. Jefferson had that drop. Not a great look, but he did score. He shouted out Randy Moss. Shout out Randy Moss too, man. I mean, that what he's going through, Vikings legend. We're all pulling for him here. I think he's going to be all right. JJ and JA had 22 targets. Love to see it. I think the magic number for me on this podcast has been 16. If you can get 16 targets to Jefferson and Addison every single game, that's a recipe for success. They had 22 last night. It's a lot, and you should just keep forcing them the ball because they're good playmakers and they make plays. The Vikings quarterbacks under contract graphic was pretty crazy. The memes were out of this world on that. Frat boy memes, the exciting whites memes. It was crazy. And those are the quarterbacks we have under contract now. But then you look to next year, and it's literally two guys who have never played a snap with the Minnesota Vikings in the regular season. So we'll see where that gets us. That's for next year, though. We're talking about this year. Defense did a great job setting up this offense with field position, too. I think their first two drives, they started in Bears territory. You can also thank the Bears for that, but this defense came up big, and they were playing some good complementary football. So let's get into the defense. What a start to get a stop on that fourth down. Defense continues to set the tone in games. Huge. We need this defense to keep doing that. When this offense has been up and down kind of all season, this defense has kind of been steady. Bend, don't break. Get the turnovers. Get the turnover on downs. Love to see it. That's how you start a game at home. Get the momentum on your side. I'd love to see the offense capitalize with a touchdown after that first down or after that first fourth down. But you know what? You'll take points on your first drive. John Grenard, he's a freaking beast. I mean, they gave him an opportunity to pin his ears back on third and long, and boom, made him pay. Right around the edge, clean strip sack. Andrew Van Ginkel should have thrown a block for Blake Cashman. Blake Cashman should have had a touchdown. I bet that's what they're saying in the film room right about now. I think Andrew Van Ginkel just kind of got turned around. The defender kind of came out of his blind spot almost. But I feel like Blake Cashman easily would have scored if Van Ginkel could have thrown that block. Didn't matter in the end. Jefferson scored anyway, but great stuff from John Grenard last night. Swift hit an absolute wall on both those fourth downs. But like that interior defensive line, absolutely love to see it. Tillery, Bullard, Redmond, all those guys making plays. Phillips, those are the guys that need to make plays. It's the backbone of this defense. It's the weakest unit on this defense. And if they're playing up to a high standard, then this entire defense is. And it all starts with them. And as good as this defense did play, I also want to make the point that Caleb Williams did just straight up miss some throws. He missed a couple touchdown passes. He missed like a fourth down throw that would have been like a 20-yard gain to Keenan Allen. When you're playing these better quarterbacks down the stretch, they're not going to miss those throws. Jared Goff isn't going to miss those throws. Jordan Love isn't going to miss those throws. And those are the plays that will come back to haunt you when you're playing the better teams. Luckily, you're only playing the Bears and a rookie quarterback. But the Vikings defense did get bailed out at times from some of those horrendous throws from Caleb Williams. They also got bailed out with the ineligible wide receiver, didn't report a player. The Lions penalty is what they should start calling it. But that's what bad teams do. And I guess you got bailed out there. Dallas Turner, he played 33 snaps tonight. That sack was electric. I mean, that was like he got shot out of a cannon on that sack, right around the edge, easy peasy, just like it was nothing. Like it was nothing, right around that right tackle. You absolutely love to see it. KOC and Brian Flores' reaction was unbelievable. They were so relieved. I don't know if they were relieved, but they were so pumped. So pumped for Dallas Turner to get that. It's a great sign for this locker room that guys are rooting on others. Dallas Turner, he hasn't had the rookie season he's hoped for, but if he can turn it on in this half of this or in the last portion of the season, and this Vikings team's got Turner, Grenard, and Van Ginkel coming off the edge, man, the sky's the limit for this group if Dallas Turner can get going. Caleb Williams looked, I kind of already talked about this, but Caleb Williams looked absolutely distraught after this game. B-Flow had this dude shaking in his boots. Caleb he looked absolutely defeated. He was laying down. Looked like he was complaining about his back. I don't know what he took a hit. He took a lot of hits. He missed a lot of throws, and he did not look that good. And I'm not saying it's his fault, but man, the Bears aren't really setting him up for success, and he's not really setting him up for success either, just missing all these throws. So it wasn't good to see Caleb Williams like that, but I mean, Vikings defense, electric. Hopefully Ryan Wright's all right. That blocked punt looked terrible. Just straight down on his back. Probably got the wind knocked out of him. I haven't heard anything like too serious about it as of now, so hopefully he's all right. I think he should be all right, but we'll see. But yeah, all around good game from the defense. They let up that garbage time touchdown, but I mean, that was locked down from the start. Wrapping it up here, the Vikings have won 32 of their first 48 games under Kevin O'Connell. It's crazy. And people were asking for this dude to get fired a couple weeks ago. Insane to me. Only 22 snaps played by a quarterback they drafted. That's pretty crazy too. Sam Darnold has better odds to win MVP than Patrick Mahomes. That's ridiculous. If I were to tell you that at the beginning of the season, nobody would believe me. People would think Patrick Mahomes got hurt and that Sam Darnold is like last and second to last and Patrick Mahomes is last because he got hurt. Unbelievable stuff from Sam Darnold. Love to see it. And Ryan Poles is 2-13 versus the NFC North since he said, we're going to take the North and never get it back. Congratulations, Ryan Poles. You are an absolute sucker. I mean, the Bears got a lot of issues. I'm not going to get into them because the Bears podcast can get into them. We're going to talk about the 12-2 Vikings right now. Actually, we're going to go to the side eye look around the league here. Packers going to win against the Seahawks. It was a boring game. Boring game. I don't know why the Packers get so many primetime games. They're so boring. So boring. Especially against just these mediocre teams. Seahawks without Geno Smith. Dolphins in the cold. Saints next week without Derek Carr. I mean, it's just gross, disgusting games. Like, nobody wants to watch them. They're so bad. So bad. But yeah, the Packers, they keep pace. I mean, technically they could pass us for the 5th seed. There's like, I mean, actually, no, I don't think there is a way for them to win the division if the Lions like win one more game. So I don't know. We'll see what the Packers end up doing here. Lions lose to the Bills in an absolute thriller. This game lived up to the hype. Thank God it lived up to the hype. About time an NFL game lived up to the hype. Lions, Bills, Super Bowl preview, people were saying a lot of points. All the points. Give me all the points. Awesome game. It was a fantastic game. Josh Allen ran absolutely all over this defense. Dan Campbell, I don't know what you are doing calling an onside kick with 11 minutes left in a 10-point game. I get it, but I don't get it at the same time. I don't get it as in 10 minutes left. I get, like, all you need is a stop. But you weren't getting them. So I understand why you did it. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It was so free. It was so free for the Bills. Just an easy touchdown just like that. Then you send your offense right back out there. It just, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. They're beat the hell up. David Montgomery's out for the year. They just, I don't know. They're not looking up to par. They might have peaked a little bit too early. I'm not going to talk crap, but they might have peaked a little bit too early. Rams pick up a win against the 49ers in the most boring game of the season. Yeah, that Thursday night game was bad. Bad. The rain was coming down. Cooper Kupp, 0 points for my fantasy team. What a joke. What a joke. But yeah, the Rams, I did a video on this the other day. It's looking like the Rams or the Buccaneers if the Vikings don't win the division and get the 1 seed. Obviously, I'd rather play the Bucs, but the Bucs look great too. Getting to their game, they absolutely rolled the Chargers, 40-13, 40-17, whatever it is, rolled them. Now, I don't think the Chargers are that good of a team, but the Bucs, man, they're getting hot. Mike Evans, he turns it on at this time of the year. He turns it on. Eagles beat the Steelers in the battle for Pennsylvania. I think the Eagles are the best team in the league right now, just playing the best. They got their pass game going. Jalen Hurts was being corny about it after the game. Saquon Barkley, they got a better running game than Detroit now with Montgomery out for the season. Eagles are good. Eagles are probably the best team in the NFC right now just because of the Lions, how beat up they are. The Lions need to get healthy if they want to keep pace with the Eagles here. Or I should say, the Eagles are going to pass the Lions if the Lions don't get healthy. Broncos beat the Colts in a big AFC playoff game. That pick six, that trick play pick six was terrible. Terrible. First of all, whenever you have a wide receiver throwing it, that's one thing. When you have a wide receiver throwing it back to the quarterback after like pump faking and taking the longest time possible to throw it back, that's even worse. They deserve that. I mean, that deserved to be a pick six, to be honest with you. That deserved to be a pick six with how bad that team is. The Cardinals picked up a win. It was just a little too late on the season. The Jets got a win, all to mess up their draft picks. I had Adams to get 149 yards. He had 198. Absolutely insane. Second most in his career. The Jets, they might be peaking at the exact wrong time. And I know they didn't play anybody good, but that was one hell of a game. 3-10 teams battling out to make it worse for their franchise. The Jags did like the best thing possible. They lost the game, but stayed competitive in a game with Aaron Rodgers. That's the best thing the Jags can do, to be honest. Chiefs won a game by more than one score. Good for them. Patrick Mahomes, he got banged up. I think he should be all right, though. Chiefs don't seem too concerned about it. Commanders beat the Saints on the last play of the game. I'm not I like going for 2, but when you're at home and you were down and you tied it up, I feel like you should just kick the extra point, play for overtime, especially when you're at home. When you're on the road, big upset, I get that. Go for 2, end it, get out of there. See what happens. But I don't like going for 2 when you're at home. I don't know what it is. I just don't like going for 2 when you're at home. Texans beat the Dolphins in a letdown game. I mean, that was such a letdown game. That was such an over game. Two explosive offenses, all the weapons in the world, and absolutely no points. Boring. Tua, I don't know, man. Tua, it might be time to give up on Tua. And the last game, Ravens smoked the Giants. Actually, not the last game. Ravens smoked the Giants. Shocker. I had the Giants plus 17. Didn't work out. They lost by 21, but 17-point spread in the NFL is absolutely crazy. Last game, we're going to talk about Falcons Raiders last night. Kirk Cousins is terrible. There is no way around it anymore. Kirk Cousins is playing like one of the worst quarterbacks in the entire NFL. His last 5 games, he has 1 touchdown and I think 9 interceptions. Some of these interceptions are the most brutal interceptions I've ever seen in my entire life, too. Absolutely horrific interceptions. Terrible stuff from Kirk Cousins. And as much as it was the right move to move on from Kirk Cousins, like contract-wise, it was also the right move play-wise on the field. The Vikings, we're going to talk about this in Facebook Scroll of the Week too, but the Vikings are not 12-2 with Kirk Cousins at the quarterback. Kirk Cousins took a handoff last night. Bijan Robinson beat him to the mesh point, and Kirk Cousins just had to tuck the ball in his tummy and fall over because he was too slow to deliver the handoff. That is awful football. We're talking about a guy who can't even deliver a handoff right now. And If the Falcons were playing any other team besides the Giants, they would have lost that game. That was one of the worst football games I've ever watched. And Kirk Cousins was a major, major part of it. And I'm not hurting on Kirk Cousins, the guy. I'm hurting on Kirk Cousins, the player, because he stinks. And the Falcons stink. I hope they make the playoffs because they are a terrible team. Terrible team. But Kirk Cousins, that was just a terrible. And Raheem Morris called him out after the game. Falcons head coach Raheem Morris said, we have to play better at the quarterback position. We have to find a way to play better. Kirk Cousins needs to play better. He said it 3 different ways, 3 different times. Kirk Cousins is terrible right now. Terrible right now. I'm so happy we have Sam Darnold. All right, Facebook post. We got some good ones this week. We got some good ones. First one, not sure if you were all aware, but if we win 6 more wins in a row, makes sense, we win the Super Bowl. And yeah, I know, 1 game at a time, but still, Skull. I mean, that's just facts. We're on a 7-game winning streak. You win 6 more in a row, Super Bowl champions. Let's do it. Okay, call me crazy, but I think that the Vikings should lose their last 3 games, let the Lions keep the number 1 seed, and we fall to the number 6 seed. The Packers would get our number 5 seed and play the Rams first. We will head to Tampa and beat them while the Rams beat the Packers. All this other stuff. Anytime you start a sentence with off, I think the Vikings should lose their last 3 games. Buddy, that's one. That's never, ever going to happen in sports, ever. 12-2 team. The Vikings aren't afraid to play anybody. I'll give you that much. The fans might be, but the players and the people inside the building aren't afraid to play anyone. And they're not just going to go out there and just say, you know what, let's just chalk these 3 games up. Let's get the 6 seed. Let's go to Tampa. Let's hope the Rams beat the Packers. Nobody's thinking like that. Ever. Nobody ever thinks like that. Crazy statement. Cannot believe how much love Buck and Troy have for the Bears. Worst announcers ever. I mean, this always happens primetime games. I didn't really notice it last night. I noticed more of the Baker Mayfield glazed from Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. They just kept mentioning Baker Mayfield because he was watching the game. Like, hop off, bro. Get a room, bro. No one wants to talk to you. No one wants to hear you just glaze Baker Mayfield up and down when he has nothing to do with this game. And I get the game was boring, but still, it's like, come on now. To those superstitious Vikings fans, since I've worn all purple with no socks, we've won every game. Before with socks, we've lost. What? Since I've worn all purple with no socks, we've won every game. Before with socks, we lost. Now, crazy as it is, I'd like to wear white tonight and feel they could lose then. What's your thoughts? Please don't tell me I'm crazy. I'm just following a pattern. Do your superstitions restrict you as well? I think you got to keep wearing purple with no socks. You can't change it. Last night was the whiteout, so I get if you change it, that's fine. But if you're listening to this, you need to wear purple with no socks the rest of the year. We cannot be messing with your mojo, with the voodoo here. We can't be switching it up in the middle of the year. If you're undefeated, you have to keep going with it. Someone said, anybody think Kirk would have gotten us to a 11-2 record, 12-2 record? No, I don't. Kirk Cousins looked terrible. Terrible. ESPN announcer Marcus Spears says Vikings haven't beaten anyone of significance. I mean, this has been the talk all year. If the Vikings haven't beaten anyone of significance, who have the Packers beaten? As a matter of fact, the Packers have just beaten everybody the Vikings have beaten, but they've just lost to the Vikings. So, I don't know. You can look at any team and just... The Vikings can only play who's on their schedule. Let's say that. I mean, it's facts. You can only play who's on your schedule. But the eye test, the Vikings just look like a good football team. They look like a great football team. And you can sit here and say they haven't played anyone yet, but other teams haven't played anyone either. And yet they'll get the more respect from the Vikings because they're wearing different jerseys, because their jerseys aren't purple or white, whatever you want to say. But that's how it always is with the Vikings. Can't wait how they explain why we are 10th in the power rankings tomorrow. Hot take, I hate power rankings. They don't matter whatsoever. They have no effect inside the locker room. They have no effect on playoffs. They have no effect on anything. Power rankings are the most overrated thing ever. It's a good indication, like early in the year, where where teams are, whatever, how good the teams you're beating. But like in all reality, it just doesn't matter. Like power rankings, Vikings could be first or last. Doesn't matter whatsoever. Power rankings are so dumb. Let's talk about these white unis. I liked them. I thought they were cool. Just from the TV aspect, doesn't really look like a Vikings game. The horns need to be purple or gold, or there needs to be more gold in the uniforms somewhere. And I get that then they would start looking like the old uniforms or just the away ones. But I don't know. It doesn't look like a Vikings team running around. That's the only thing. I don't know. They might change it next year. I don't know if they'll wear these jerseys again. I don't know what the plan is, but to all the fake fans, 12-2, and we only have one tough game left, and that is versus Green Bay. We will win the North. Detroit 2 beat up. We'll win that easy. I love this confidence here. We're going to win that one easy. Vikings ones don't really win games easy. I mean, they have the last 2 weeks, but those are against 2 dog shit teams. So we'll see. I don't think the Lions game is going to be easy, though. Note to coaches, do something about that Cam Robinson number 74 with his jumping as. That's facts, dude. If it was a big game and he was doing shit like that, 2 false starts, maybe 3 false starts, a holding, and you get another penalty too, illegal formation. If you're doing that at home. That should not be happening at home. 2 false starts and an illegal formation at home. Come on now. That can't be happening, Cam Robinson. Offensive line needs to get it together. 30-12 win over division rival on Monday Night Football, and people still hating and bitching. I don't understand you. Be happy. 12-2 is rare to see. That's facts. And then literally the post right below it is, imagine how bad we'd be losing if we were playing Buffalo tonight. Like, what kind of... I don't get that. Imagine how bad we'd be losing if we're playing Buffalo tonight. How does that run through people's heads? That doesn't pass my mind at all during a game. Ever. Like, oh, if we were playing this team, we'd be losing by 1 million. I don't get how people can think like that all the time. Focus on the task at hand. Someone said, trade the kid and sign Darnold. Don't overcomplicate things. Like, no. We're not going to... Dude, you're going to say that after last night is crazy. Because Sam Darnold looked terrible. And if you pay him, you're in the exact same... You already have a contract that's like a quarterback contract on the books in Justin Jefferson. We're already paying a quarterback contract. We can't afford 2. We're not going to be able to afford anyone else. We have all this cap space going into next season that people talk about, but we have so many guys to sign. If you sign the guys that are on the team right now, we have no cap space. That's why we need to hit it home in the draft with our draft picks we just don't have. Vikes suck in prime time and have 4 Super Bowls to prove it. I mean, what? So people are saying the Vikings suck in prime time because they've lost 4 Super Bowls because Super Bowls are in prime time. That makes sense to me. The fact that some of you people wanted Kirk back speaks volumes about your intelligence. That's crazy. I mean, nobody projected Kirk to be this bad and Sam Darnold to be this good. You didn't. I don't care what you said before the season. You did not see this coming at all. But at the same time, Kirk Cousins is terrible. Jefferson might have blown the first seed on that drop. Just saying. The overreactions like during the game are the best because Jefferson might have blown the first seed on that drop. Just saying. Because the Bears started to drive after that drop. That's a seed we don't even have right now. That's crazy. Rainbows, butterflies, and unicorns, of course. But if we were playing a good team, it wouldn't even be close. Like why do people think this? It doesn't make any sense to me. Rainbows, butterflies, and unicorns. I've never heard that. But if we were playing a good team, it wouldn't even be close. Dog. That's wild. I didn't see the outcome of the game, but from the posts on this Facebook page, we must have sucked and got our ass kicked. Darn you, Sam Darnold. You've really sucked this season. I mean, that literally is these Facebook groups. They're the most negative groups of all time. It's 12-2. And people are always complaining that we're not going to beat a better team because we're not playing good. Like, it just doesn't make any sense, man. Ooh, man, the Bears doing skull chant. They aren't ready to pay for that. No, that's the kind of in-game motion that we need right there. That's facts. You don't do the skull chant in Minnesota. That never turns out well. That concludes our Vikings Facebook Scroll of the Week. We're going to get into our punishment here. I had to eat an entire Giordano's deep dish pizza if the Vikings lost. The Vikings didn't lose, so we move on. I haven't had to do any of these. I'm so spoiled. Next up is buying my girlfriend Starbucks for an entire week if the Seahawks beat the Vikings. Not the worst thing in the world. Don't want to do it. I really don't want to do it because that means the Vikings lost. Speaking of the Seahawks, they're coming off a bad loss at home. Bad loss at home. They're at home again. Will Geno Smith play? That's going to be the real question all week. Sam Howell, he freaking slung it. Slung it. He slung it last season. He threw that ball a lot. A lot. And sometimes when he's hot, it works. Most of the time it doesn't. But sometimes when he's hot, it actually works. So we're going to have our head on a swivel. This defense is going to have to come ready to play because if he's throwing the ball 30-plus times, it might be a long day for this Vikings defense. But I would rather play Sam Howell than Geno Smith, even though Geno Smith sucks at home. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm comfortable with either. I think the Vikings could win no matter who plays quarterback. I'm going to check the line right now, see where we're at. Vikings are 3-point favorites. 3-point favorites on the road. That's pretty respectable. That means you're probably getting 6 points at home. We'll see. Kenneth Walker will also be a big one to watch. The Vikings' run defense hasn't been great as of the last couple of weeks. So if we can avoid playing Kenneth Walker and we get Charbonnet is a solid back though too. But if we can avoid playing Kenneth Walker, that would be big. But the Seahawks can't afford to lose games, so these guys might have to suit up for them. We talked about it with Ben Lieber. Sometimes it's nice going on the road after you've been home for a while. Get away from some distractions. So the Vikings are going to have to answer the call, especially with the 12th man, one of the toughest places to play, 3:05 kickoff. It's just a classic Seahawks game. Vikings are gonna have to sack up. They're gonna have to do it. And before we get into our ChatGPT player of the day, man, shout out Randy Moss. I said this earlier, but hey, man, cancer sucks. He's gonna be battling through it. Chemo tears you apart. I've seen it firsthand, and I hope all the best for him. The entire state, the entire franchise, all of Minnesota's pulling for him. He's got this. Randy Moss cancer. He's in a Moss cancer. All right. Name the most random Vikings player you can think of. Chris Carter. He was there last night. I'm just going to roll with Chris Carter. Why not? How about Buster Skrine? He only played for the Vikings for a brief period in 2021, but his name always stands out as one of the more unexpected or random ones in Minnesota's history. That is facts, ChatGPT. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much for all the support. Tell your friends, families, kids, uncles, grandmas, wives, whatever you want to do about the podcast. If they like the Vikings, they'd love it. I appreciate you guys. Skol Vikings, 12-2. We're on the road to that number 1 seed. Appreciate you guys.